Hi, everybody. Matt Lawton here, and this is the Astrological Winds channel. I'm going to take a look this week at the astrological weather report for the week of May 13th through 19th. And I'm calling this Conjunctions Week because there's four big conjunctions going on. Both the Sun and Venus are going to conjunct Uranus, the Sun's going to conjunct Jupiter, and Mars is going to conjunct the North Node this week. And not only that, but finally, Mercury is going to get out of Aries and move into Taurus. So, got a bunch of different things to talk about for sure. And just a little biz first. The Astrological Winds channel is a free video blog that I do on YouTube every week. If you like what you see and you have a YouTube account, please become a follower. And don't forget to put your notifications on, or you won't know or won't be reminded when the blog is posted every week. And so, it's a very simple thing to do. Also, since this is a free service that I'm offering, I really would appreciate it if you could pass the link on to somebody else. That would be really, really great. And just so you know, it is available on podcasts too. It was a podcast actually long before it was a YouTube channel. So, it's still out there on podcasts. Just look it up on your favorite podcast, Astrological Winds channel. You should be able to find it. I know Apple iPodcasts has it for sure. And that frees you up to, just listen to it at different times. Maybe when you're in your car or whatever. Also, if you have an Instagram page, I do post the link on the Instagram account for, once again, Astrological Winds channel. And please become a follower there too. Once in a while, I do post some additional information there in comment form that you don't have to, commit to a video or audio. I also put it in two other places. You'll always find it on my website, and that is www.astrologicalwinds.com. I pin it onto the website every week, and that's where you can find the past ones too. So if you need to go back and hear one about the month or whatever that you may have missed, you can always check them out there. I also put it on my private Facebook account, which is under my name, and that's Matthew with a capital M and two T's, and then Lawton, Lauten, and you have to friend me first and get my approval, and it'll come up in your newsreel. But like I said, the website's really the best place to find it if you don't have a YouTube account and can just subscribe. And also, the website is the other great introduction to the way you can support me. I am a professional astrologer. I have been doing readings for over 20 years, professionally trained for over 7 years to do so. Would love to do your chart or someone else's that is ready for that. I have all kinds of different charts and services that I do. It's all listed on the website. You can check that out. The pricing is there too. If the pricing's too much for you or you need to work with me with it, let me know. It doesn't hurt to help. I have an email link right there. Email me at matthuey823@gmail.com. And if you have a group that's looking for some kind of astrological thing too, there's information on stuff that I do there for groups too. So, please, when you're ready for that, let me know, and we'll get that going for you. All right, let's get into this week. Like I said, I'm calling it Conjunctions Week because there's four conjunctions going on, and it starts today on Monday with the Sun's annual conjunction to Uranus. So when Uranus comes into our lives, it brings surprises, and really, we can really look at surprises and really based on the way our attitude is about, in particular about change, because Uranus is always going to bring changes, and they come rapidly. They can come unexpectedly. And so, if your attitude about change is one that's positive, it can be very exciting. It can be very stimulating. It can bring new information into you, either through events, through experiences, through other people, through information that you might find that really stimulates you and makes you feel like you're breaking out of a rut, but if you're someone who resists change, then you can find the Sun Uranus conjunction to be very irritating. That, lots of little upsets, things like that, that disturb the normal patterning of what you do. And therefore you kind of resist them, and it can be very, 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 very frustrating, really, if that's what your attitude is. And there's no doubt, no matter what your attitude is, Sun Uranus can bring a lot of, like, little things that you're that are unexpected. So they can be upsetting, or they can force change. And it can also bring bigger events. Too, on a larger scale. Uranus is a transpersonal planet, so we can see some very big events in the world today, tomorrow, this week, basically, that really shake the world up. And I'll be honest with you guys too, it's a very rebellious energy. So I've already talked about it a little bit since the Jupiter Uranus conjunction of a few weeks ago kicked in, that this is going to be a year where there's going to be a lot of social movement and change, like people in social movements trying to force change upon society. The Sun Uranus is one of those trigger times when that Jupiter Uranus conjunction will be triggered by the sun hitting one of the two of them. And it's once again very freedom seeking. It's very independent energy. It's very individualistic energy. It's very much energy that needs to express the uniqueness within us. And it is having a desire for independence and freedom. So anything or anyone that we perceive as blocking that, we can get very rebellious against, which means that on a larger scale, I think we're going to really see these social movements that are going on right now inflame even more this week. And I know, a lot of it has to do with college campuses asking for divestment in relation to, Israel and Palestine, but like just a lot of other things too that are very upsetting to people right now, where you can see people rallying around the things that they feel are really important in society and that have to do with their freedom. Like women, for instance, too, in the United States right now have this, control over their bodies issue that's really been brought up recently. So, it's like those things we can really see will become more inflamed, and we can see maybe a lot of individuals and groups take some very, rebellious and drastic type actions to strike out against stuff that they are perceiving that is holding them back from doing this. But this really brings a lot of, on a positive level, it's bringing in change that stimulates us, that excites us. It breaks us into new ground. And as long as we're not trying to resist that too much, or it doesn't upset our apple cart too much, because, it can be extreme, some of these things. If you're in the middle of some natural disaster and you lose a lot of the things and stability that you had, obviously that can be very shaken. But it can just be, very little upsetting things too. Just, frustration with other people, particularly ones who you see are blocking your freedom to express yourself. Now, interestingly enough, today also is a Venus sextile Saturn. And that really is a very different energy than the Sun conjunct Uranus. It's actually about fulfilling duties and relationships. And yet the Sun Uranus is very much about, like, even breaking free of relationships if necessary to be who we truly are, to express the uniqueness and not hold back, to find that freedom to do that. So, how can we, get these two energies to work well together? Because the Venus sextile Saturn is a very useful energy. It does have us have the desire to live up, to the obligations and duties we have within relationship frameworks. So we have a very positive attitudes toward doing that. And yet Sun Uranus is very rebellious. And what I really think the best way we can tie this together, and I think it would be really powerful if we could resonate these two energies together, would be to, like, within the structure or framework of living up to your obligations or duties to others, which, many times comes through business and work, especially with Venus Saturn. It favors sober, grounded relationships, stuff that isn't so much emotionally based, more like down to business kind of things. I think like if we can inject some of the uniqueness of the Sun Uranus, that is the essence of who we truly are, our individuality, our uniqueness, our talent, who we really are. If we can inject that into those duties and obligations and work that we have in relation to other people, we can get a double whammy of satisfaction. Not only are we living up to those duties and, people are seeing that and feeling like, we're being responsible and this is someone that I do want to, create a stable relationship with, but we're also showing what we can bring to the table that's very unique and that's part of us. So we're getting that personal satisfaction too. We're getting the satisfaction of feeling like, our talents are being used in a good way and within the real world by like, fulfilling duties in the real world in a very unique way that brings us satisfaction on both of those levels. And what's interesting too about that, like when you think about like, those kind of relationships that Venus Saturn is, it's very sober and it's very like honest. And Sun Uranus is definitely honest. It's honest to the point of like what they would say, honest to the point of recklessness. Who's heard that before? Really, I mean, it really is open and out front about what, but that really shows that no one's hiding anything and that, we can really work together well on that energy. So I think that's really, it can really be a great together, great thing bringing that in. Now, the other thing about Venus Saturn too is it really respects people who have more knowledge, who can be helped, who can help you on in fulfilling some of those duties and things. So we can maybe find some unique sources of new knowledge, maybe some kind of alternative people, that Sun Uranus, who inject some of this new knowledge into something that might be a little bit too conservative. And once again, use that as an opportunity to push it forward. So I think we could really, like I said, I think we could combine these two energies. They're a little counterintuitive, but you can see the connection, right? How we can use this and get the two of them to resonate together, lift their frequencies up and let them become something bigger through us, right? So what else are we here for, right? Like, let's try to up the game, right? So on Wednesday, yay, I'm saying yay, Mercury goes into Taurus after 8 weeks of being in Aries, going through the retrograde cycle in Aries. We are now completely out of the shadow of the Mercury retrograde, and we've been for probably about a week, and things should be moving forward. Things in the Mercury world should be moving forward. But interestingly enough, Mercury going into Taurus actually slows Mercury's thinking and thought processes and decision making and movement and words down. After all that Aries energy that surrounded those mercurial things where you can be very impulsive and find yourself, messing yourself up a lot by your own actions and words not being thought out enough. Taurus does the complete opposite to Mercury in our minds and our intellect. It says, whoa, pull the reins on the horses, slow the heck down. I want to know what all the information is. I want to check it out, and I want to know that when I make a decision, I'm going to get the results that promise. So Mercury in Taurus is going to slow our minds down. We are going to be very thorough about going through things before we make a decision. We actually kind of take what I would call a conservative, traditional approach. We trust the things that have worked before. We trust the patterns and energies that have worked before. Now, this can be a little frustrating, for people who want to see more movement moving fast, but it's also very solid. And you're not going to argue someone into your point of view during Mercury and Taurus, right? If anything, they're going to get stubborn, and they're going to actually block your input. So when you're communicating, make sure that you're well thought out too, and that's what will establish something that's actually deeper. But it can be very stubborn energy, but it wants the simple answer. It's a very zen mind, actually, Mercury and Taurus. It's like simplicity works best. Go with the flow. Go with what nature is saying. Slow down. Don't have to be moving so fast in the mind, that kind of thing. So, and it can bring there is an element of emotional influence on Mercury and Taurus, because the past is attached to memory, and memory is most deep when it was an emotionally exciting time, either negative or positive. So that is part of the factoring in too, is that we are under the influence of our past emotional experiences influencing our thoughts. And that's why we can get a little stubborn. And the other thing about Mercury in Taurus, just like the other earth signs too, working with your hands and with tools is, you can be very adept at that, very thorough, very careful, good worker. Now, continuing Mercury's journey this week on Friday, goes right into Taurus, a fixed sign. And remember, Pluto has just gone into Aquarius, doesn't move very fast, right? So Mercury is going to square Pluto on Friday. And this can give us a very obsessive, coercive mind. We really are pushy about what we believe in, really pushy about what we want to say, and we're looking for an argument, where it can be very conflict on the intellectual level driven energy, looking to convince people that we're right and they're wrong. And what that does is it creates a backlash, right? People resist that. And so immediately we're going to find ourselves in a lot of arguments that feel going to get us very, very frustrating feelings towards others, very resentful towards others. It's all about trying to be too coercive. Everybody, trying to push, and, in the political climate that we're in now, this is going to be one of those days where it's, the firecrackers around that kind of stuff, and the differences of opinions and ideas and beliefs and standards are going to really come out. But it's very narrow-minded energy. It is not open. It is not receptive to others. It is obsessive mind energy. And you can crowd out all the other stuff going on around you and blow things way out of proportion in your mind and get into some very heated arguments with others over that, where the anger level and the resent level can get to a very frustrating boiling point. So what do we do with this energy? Best thing is to turn it inward, actually, is to, take a look in the mirror. Why are you feeling that you have to be so right, so pushy, so coercive? Do you have doubts about your own beliefs, and, thinking that convincing others is going to be the way that you feel strong about it? Because that's probably not really the best solution to that. The best solution is to look deep within yourself. Be honest with yourself about how a lot of your thoughts are based on very intense memories that the mind is still attached to, and therefore has a belief system that's built around that memory that may have worked at one point, but is no longer working very well today because you're having to coerce others to believe it, right? And like I said, and that to me is just showing that you have some doubts yourself about that. I mean, if you feel right about something, you don't need to convince anybody else, really. It's just going to be out there. So we really need to use this energy to do a psychological analysis of ourselves, really, to look at where the energy of those thoughts that are coming from that feel that way, that feel like it has to be pushy, and why, and start to like unwrap that and realize it's not really helping us in the present anymore, right? And start to learn how to let some of that stuff go. Now, this is also another way to use this energy is very similar to this. It's to study stuff like that. Study the human mind, study psychology, study astrology, study human design, study like meditation and ways to like calm the mind and like get it more focused and use that energy, bring in and find ways to break out of old patterns that are self-destructive, basically, and destructive towards relationships too. So there is a lot of good energy there too. Okay, on the weekend is when we have 3 of those other 4 conjunctions, and they all come on Saturday. So Saturday is going to be like, remember conjunctions too, guys. It's in the cycle of energy. That's beginnings, right? It's like a new moon. It's like starting something. It's a good time for starting things when there's a conjunction. So the first one on Saturday is similar to the one on Monday. Venus is going to conjunct Uranus, and it's kind of a similar energy, but it affects relationships more. When Venus is conjunct Uranus, we want stimulation through our relationships. We want excitement through our relationships. And what comes up many times when Venus is conjunct Uranus is that old relationships are not providing that. They become stale. So we're seeking out new relationships, new people to connect with. Many times, people who are very different than our normal in crowd or our cultural background or our socioeconomic background, they have something to bring to us that's very stimulating and exciting because it is so different. So, it really, and once again, anybody who we perceive as restricting us, just like the Sun Uranus, we are just going to rebel against that relationship. I'll be honest with you guys, like Venus Uranus conjunction is one of the strong aspects of impulsive love affairs because of dissatisfaction with the same old thing, and someone or something new and exciting comes in and really stimulates even the libido on that level. Also, as far as relationships go too, Venus Uranus is very adept at going outside the box and making different kinds of relationship arrangements that are not the traditional type. Okay. So, like, people may come up with different alternative types of relationship agreements under this energy. Now, the other couple things it will affect is money. We can come into a sudden windfall or a sudden loss. Uranus and Venus together can do it, give you a short-term gain or a short-term loss that can come on very quickly. So look out for that. And then the other thing is like different, like it's about our creativity too. And it's like going into new avenues with that, finding alternative ways to stimulate our creativity and output it in alternative ways. So, if you're an artist, you may come up with like, if you're a musician, say like a completely new style or genre of a song that maybe you never, dabbled into before. That's just one analogy of like infinite ways that you guys have the power to manifest in this life, but just think about that. It's like about expressing your creativity in a different way, or even being exposed to art that's different than your normal art, So very interesting there. Now, Mars is conjunct the North Node too. And once again, a seeding time. This is a time where we can find comradeship around us, fellowship around us over certain ideas that we're motivated by and other people are motivated by, and we can create a group that's kind of like teamwork together. It's like it's like a perfect sports teamwork kind of energy, but you can put that energy into any kind of project that you have with people with similar objectives. And the energy is very active. So it's like hit the ground running, go, do it. So very, very convivial energy on moving forward and getting things done on projects and objectives that we have together. And then we also have the sun's annual conjunction to Jupiter. And just like Uranus, Jupiter really does want freedom. It doesn't shake it up quite as hard. It's more about like, listen, there is just like it creates a positive feedback loop, actually. Under Jupiter's sun, we will be very positive and optimistic in a general way, and also very tolerant. That's where the freedom part comes in. We are very tolerant. So what that allows to have happen is we open up to new ideas, new things, being experiences, go and do different things, new information or learning, which is something that Jupiter is really into too. And once again, getting information from people of different backgrounds, cultures, places, just expanding our world. And what that does is it not only excites us and makes us feel optimistic, but it also gets us more, it shifts our value systems, it shifts our beliefs, it makes us more, gives us a wider view, gives us a more tolerant view. So this is very, very positive energy, but it definitely likes its freedom too, But in this case, you can get help from authorities rather than trying to push them. You can find authorities that have similar values that you do and work together with them, and they can give you support and you can give them support. One of the only dangers, really, there's two things that can be a little dangerous with Sun Uranus. The first is like, okay, everything is working really well and I'm feeling really positive. So what happens a lot of times when we do that? We get, overstimulated in a positive way, right? And then we can kind of go off. We can kind of get preachy. We can get self-righteous. We can think we have the answer for everyone. You know what? If the attitude becomes like that, then you're going to get resistance. You're going to have certain people who will never hear your answer because you're carrying it around with a little bit of a chip on your shoulder. So you got to let that go. You got to let that tolerance be there and be open and wide. And the people who need to hear it will hear it, rather than being like, like I'm the self-righteous person and I have the answers for you. It's more like, being like more into a philosophical discussion to bring people around to that point of view. And then the other thing is, we so much want to take in more with Sun Jupiter. We want to take in more, expand, bring it up wider, higher, every level of that 180 degrees going that way, that many times we'll overcommit ourselves, like energy wise or resource wise or time wise, because we're just such on a positive high that once again we're making imbalanced reactions from a positive high, and not realizing later, oh, I forgot to look at my schedule that day, and guess what? I have something else I have to do, and I can't now live up to this commitment. And once again, that's just one example of a multitude of infinite examples of how us as humans can, manifest Sun Jupiter, by just overlooking things and wanting to have this like, more, take more in, and just realize, oops, went a little too far, can't really do all that, on some level or another. But very, very positive energy. And that continues on Sunday too. The whole weekend is a really nice weekend. The sun is going to sextile Neptune on Sunday. And this is really a perfect Sunday kind of vibe energy. It's very laid back. It's mellow release of energy. It's actually very open to helping others, really wanting to give service in some way that appeals to our spiritual value system. So we're very much into helping people who may need help or maybe a little more downtrodden, say to speak, than us, or maybe even like nonprofit, or anything like that. But like it's really a satisfaction, and there's really true giving in it. It's not really tied into like an egotistical nature, although obviously there's ego involved in everything we do, and especially with the sun involved too. But it's really, it wants to give. Now, the other thing that's really big with the sun Neptune is it stimulates spirituality and mysticism again. And that's, like I said, it's really nice for a Sunday. It's really a good day to contemplate, meditate, just get into that kind of space, spiritual journey, or artistic work too, especially the stimulating of the mind and the imagination and the inspiration that comes from that. Maybe you won't actually physically output a lot of it. Maybe you'll just like get the sketches, so to speak, down of what you want to do, but it's excellent energy for that too. So a real sweet weekend. And I want to wrap this up now. We've just hit a half hour. So yeah, just overall conjunctions week. Look forward to Mercury and Taurus slowing us down. The Uranus energy is definitely going to excite us. The Mars and Jupiter energy and all those conjunctions. So there's a lot of new things going to be opening up to all of us in the next few weeks. And that a lot of it is about our own personal growth, our own individuality. There's nothing wrong with finding out, who we really are and where we're meant to be, and not, follow what others are trying to tell us that we are. Find that right spot. It doesn't mean throwing, upsetting the whole apple cart. It's just like, bringing in that change and stimulation. So that's what I would really encourage this week. There's a lot of positive energy towards that. All right. This is Matt Lawton. This is the Astrological Winds channel. Oh, next week, the blog will mainly be, we've got a full moon again, right? Full moon in Sag. I think it's at 3 degrees. And then the sun's going to go into Gemini too next week. And Jupiter is going to go into Gemini, which I talked about in the monthlies. There's a lot of stuff going on next week too, so don't miss next week. But anyway, Matt Lawton here, Astrological Winds channel, YouTube, free video, free blog. Please pass it on. That's all I'm asking you guys to do. I mean, if you want to give a currency donation, no amount is too small to help me. I actually spend a little money to put the blog out every month for you guys. So like, if you want to give a currency donation, my Venmo handle is @ Matthew, capital M, 2 T's, hyphen in the middle, LAUTEN, capital L. And like I said, anyone who's given, I really thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I love you guys all so much. And I know, like, when that is, there's a lot to give to. So really, thank you so much for helping on that. And best way you can help me out is when you need that reading. And I know there's going to be a point when you do. If you're watching this blog and I know you're into astrology, I know there's going to be times. Come and check it out. Check my website out. It's got everything on it that you need to know. www.astrologicalwinds, no channel, winds.com. That's where you can find the blogs embedded too. You can go back to any other blog. That's where you can find where I have services for groups too. If the prices scare you, talk to me. We'll work it out. We'll figure something out for you. There's an info contact right there. It's matthuey823 @gmail.com. All right. And, just do that. And remember, please, to pass the blog on now when you're about to be done here. That would really be a great way to just support me on that level. All right, everybody. I'll see y'all next week. This is an exciting week to move forward, to, take a step forward and express your uniqueness. And, and the world is ready for it. It's ready for it. It's ready for all of us to do that. I'll see y'all next week. All right.